P.R. Karthikeyan, President of the Foundation for Peace, Harmony and Good Governance. In our own humble way, we try to focus on socially relevant issues almost every month. We have done more than 100 episodes, day-long national conferences, seminars, workshops, evening programs, etc. We had the 10th anniversary last year with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam as the chief guest. And to enable the larger audience to know what is happening here, the proceedings are put on the website also later. So to introduce this fascinating subject, harnessing the incredible powerhouse of the human mind, it is said the biggest challenge for human mind is human mind itself. One way to think about mental health is by looking at how effectively and successfully a person functions, feeling capable and competent, being able to handle normal levels of stress, maintaining satisfying relationships, and leading an independent life, and being able to bounce back or recover from difficult situations. They are all signs of good mental health. The great mystery around the human mind is also what is called consciousness. The problem of consciousness is that it remains a mystery about its nature. Mental health is defined by the WHO as a state of emotional and psychological well-being in which an individual is able to use his or her cognitive and emotional capabilities, function in society, and meet the ordinary demands of everyday life. The mind is a set of cognitive faculties, including consciousness, perception, thinking, judgment, and memory. The main open question regarding the nature of the mind is mind-body problem, which investigates the relation of the mind to the physical brain and nervous system. Whatever its nature, it is generally agreed that mind is that which enables a being to have subjective awareness and intentionality towards the environment, to perceive and respond to stimuli with some kind of agency, and to have consciousness, including thinking and feeling. Understanding the relationship between the brain and the mind-body mind problem is a challenging problem both philosophically and scientifically. The relationship between mind and brain involves a number of scientific questions, including understanding the relationship between mental activity and brain activity. So, philosophy of mind is the branch of philosophy that studies the nature of the mind, mental events, mental functions, mental properties, consciousness, and their relationship to the physical body. Due to the mind-body problem, a lot of interest and debate surrounds the question of what happens to one's conscious mind as one's body dies. There are many theories about the human mind. Some ancient civilizations refer to it as the connection between the body and the soul. Science approaches the mind through psychology. The scientific research concludes that the human mind is the result of the brain activities and has a conscious as well as a subconscious side. So the philosophy of mind is a branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of the thoughts and experiences of the humans. The main difference between philosophy and psychology lies in the way they examine mentality. Psychology approaches mental phenomena through scientific experiments, while philosophy through reasoned arguments. Another interesting topic that is getting much of attention and research is the state of consciousness. Despite the vague definition of consciousness, science has recognized that there are many different states of it. Cases such as sleep, alertness, dreaming, and meditating are some relevant examples. Two other mind aspects that are not independent constitutes the learning capacity. These are intelligence and memory. Intelligence is a broad meaning covering many mental activities such as problem solving, thinking abstractly, learning and understanding, reasoning, etc. Memory is the mind's capacity to remember. It's a critical function, as without the memorizing ability, we would be unable to learn, speak, read, or form any kind of consciousness. I would like to give some quotations from eminent personalities from different walks of life in different ages. The two great movers of the human mind are the desire of good and the fear of the evil. Edmund Burke said, "The human mind is often, and I think it is for the most part, in a state neither of pain nor pleasure, which I call a state of indifference." Thoughts are the product of a machine we call the human mind. So manufacture some excellent thoughts. Human life is a great story written by the mysterious, mystical, and magical human mind. Lord Buddha says, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." He also said, "We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves." Buddha also said, to enjoy good health, to bring true happiness to one's family, to bring peace to all, one must first discipline and control one's own mind. If a man can control his mind, he can find the way to enlightenment, and all wisdom and virtue will naturally come to him. Swami Sivananda said, "Put your heart, mind, and soul into even your smallest acts. This is the secret of success." Joyce Meyer says, "You cannot have a positive life and a negative mind. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body." John F. Kennedy says, "Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education. The human mind is our fundamental resource." Thomas Jefferson says, "I believe that every human mind feels pleasure in doing good to another. A negative mind will never give you a positive life." Lao Tzu says, "If you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place." Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. It all depends on us. To conclude, I quote Napoleon. He says, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." How true it is going to be explained to us by our eminent speakers. And I would like to introduce first Dr. Angelique Quatra. He has just returned from Spain and almost from the airport, I think via home she has come here. Thank you very much for coming. She is the founder chairperson of Philanthropy. It's a non-profit, non-commercial organization striving to make the most vulnerable communities safer from natural and man-made disasters through awareness, preparedness, and mitigation. So if I go through the entire biodata of the speakers, it will take another half an hour. I'm going to only highlight certain aspects of their achievements. She is involved in a mega project aimed at providing training on disaster preparedness and emergency aid measures to the masses. A disaster management expert having grassroots level experience in the field of disaster preparedness and emergency management. She has been trained in crowd management and emergency control center operations from the Emergency Planning College of United Kingdom. She is also trained in business continuity planning by Disaster Recovery International Institute, Singapore. So she has got many achievements. She is a member of the UK-India Bilateral Expert Knowledge Exchange Network on Radiological Safety and Security under the Royal United Services Institute of UK. Madam, we have great pleasure in welcoming you, and we would like to show our love and respect and admiration for your coming by offering a few flowers to you and a small memento from the foundation. Now, Dr. Anup Bose is the main architect of this event. In fact, it is he who suggested this topic. He is an internationally reputed lawyer practicing primarily in the Supreme Court of India. Some of his clients include the topmost companies in India. Name anyone. Reliance, Tata, Hindustan Unilever, TCS, ITC, ICI, Coca-Cola, Indian Oil, etc., etc. I know how he manages to advise so many people. He is an advisor to Global Legal Counsel and business advisor to Sparta Matrix Incorporated USA, a world leader in satellite tracking and logistics. He is closely associated with the US-India Business Council, the UK-India Business Council, the Commonwealth Business Council, the Indo-Israeli Chamber of Commerce, etc., CII, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, PhD Chamber, and other chambers of commerce in India and abroad. He addressed a select gathering of members of Parliament and other eminent persons in the House of Lords in 2009 and was awarded the prestigious Ambassador of Peace Award in the House of Lords. In April 2009, he was invited to the House of Commons. He has been intimately associated with media, TV, radio, and films since his school days in Delhi. He has been a TV newscaster, interviewer, and featured documentary filmmaker. His documentary film on Indira Gandhi, entitled The Spirit of India, while he was still in college, has won him many accolades in India and abroad. He is a well-known writer, and Laws is here. Laws, the only interactive law magazine in India, is published from his Delhi office. Also an avid lover of Western classical music. Dr. Anup Bose was part of the Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao's innermost circle and worked very closely with him during the fateful years when the Indian economy underwent a total transformation. So, Mr. Bose, we have great pleasure in welcoming you with a bouquet of flowers. All right. Give it. Last but not least, another eminent personality, Mr. Tanmay Chakrabarti, is here with us. He is an MBA from IIM Calcutta, completed an executive development program from Boston, USA. Currently, he is Vice President and Global Head, Government Industry Solutions Unit at Tata Consultancy Services Limited, based in New Delhi. He has over 33 years of experience related with business development, sales and delivery of integrated IT solutions and services to the government sector. He has led many enterprises, mission mode and holistic transformational projects in the areas of e-governance in India and other parts of the world. He currently manages 165 clients in the government sector for TCS and has a team of over 7,500 associates in TCS in 12 countries. As you know, TCS is Asia and Africa's largest IT services and solutions provider with over 1,200 clients, 300,000 employees, and operations in over 55 countries with the last year revenues of US $13.2 billion. Widely traveled in India and all over the world, he has worked at Calcutta, Bangalore, and New Delhi. He is on the Defense IT Subcommittee for FICCI. Additionally, he is a member of the IT Task Force of the Chief of Air Staff, Indian Air Force, and a member of the IT think tank of the Chief of the Army Staff, Indian Army. He is a member of the Executive Committee of Electronics and Computer Software Export Promotion Council. He is a member of the FICCI Inclusive Governance Council Committee and the NASSCOM Domestic IT Council. He is on the Board of Management of the Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women, member of the Digital India Committee at CII, and member of CII National Committee on Telecom and Broadband for the year 2015 and 16. Actually, amazing how you could do so much in so many places and so many organizations. So we have great pleasure in welcoming you, sir, with a bouquet of flowers and a token of gratitude from the FGG. So I am justified in taking a little longer time so that many more people could come. And I didn't want them to miss listening to this galaxy of human personalities.